Past actually 12, 13 years ago even, in houses, in synagogues. It's always great to come back. I see new faces, lots of new faces here. I want to thank everyone for giving us the opportunity to speak in this house and that helping to organize this evening. I hope everybody will be satisfied after. I know that there's a mixed crowd here. Spiritually, everyone here is in a different level. It's almost always like that. And therefore my job will be to try to give a lecture that will be good enough for every level that sits here in a crowd. Before I start the presentation, I would like to make a statement. Over the years, I found that we all know that there are many threats out there to our life. Many dangerous things. Health, enemies, problems in business, problems in schools, failing tests, finding good jobs. There's a lot of problems that people face in their life. But I found after many years of paying very careful attention to that the biggest enemy to the person's life is ignorance. What I mean is, not necessarily when it comes only to religion or to spirituality, in any field that you are involved with, if you don't learn your stuff very well, if you don't invest enough, sometimes you're paying a very heavy price in the end. I will give an example what I mean. A few years ago, when I just started to work with the laptop, with a computer, and started to answer people emails, I was avoiding it for years until I had no choice. I had to do it. And obviously, when I just started to learn about computers, I didn't know nothing compared to what I know today. And a friend of mine came one time into my house and he saw that I wasted about 2 hours trying to send about 30, 40 emails to people. What was the problem? I did not know that by pressing few buttons in less than a minute, I can send 1,000 emails to my list. So I started to send each email at a time, one after the other. And I've been doing it for a while until God had mercy on me and he sent me the guy and asked me, what are you doing? I said, I'm sending email to all these people. I wrote a nice letter and I want everyone to read it. So he told me, no, that's not the right way to do it. In less than a second, 1, 2, 3, it was all done. And I learned my lesson. Sometimes you can do something 20, 30, 40, who knows, 70 years. And if you only know one more thing, your life will be so much different. If it's true when it comes to the material world, to the world that we live in everything we do, in business, in learning, in studying, nevertheless, it's very important when it comes to our soul, to our spirituality. This lecture was designed to remove any doubt whatsoever from anybody's mind about the truth and the purpose of life. Now I know some of you already heard lectures, similar lectures, purpose of life, what are we doing here? I hope it's going to be unique. I hope it's going to be a lecture that will make the right influence on everyone here. And I'm open for many questions. At any slide that I will show, I would be very happy if people participate and have questions and arguments. That's what I'm here for. For those who know a little bit history and those who don't, according to Judaism, the world is 5,768 years old. Very young world. Not 3 billion, not 300 trillion, not 10 million. All the universities and the researchers that they made came out with unbelievable numbers. Judaism contradicted completely. Then we received the Torah 3,318 years ago. That's all. Judaism officially really started 3,318 years ago. which major religions we know today? Christianity, just a little bit less than 2,000 years old. Islam, just a little bit less than 1,400 years old. Buddhism, 2,400 years old. And more than 80,000 religions and cults that started, all of them after Judaism was published. We, as Jews, have something unique that nobody else has. We are the only religion, the only one, that started with 15 million witnesses. Every time a person started religion in history, it was his story without even one witness. For instance, I'm going to show some proofs from Christianity and Islam, but I want everybody to understand the difference between Judaism to all the 80,000 religions. One of the main differences is that when you ask a Muslim how many witnesses Muhammad had that Angel Gabriel gave him the Quran in the desert, the answer will be not even one. How do you know? The Quran say. The Quran say that one day he came and he told the story and nobody ever know if it happened or not. And you have close to 2 billion people that are willing to die for that story. How Christianity started? A woman that had all the reasons in the world to make up a story to save her life. She came and said that God came to her in a dream and made her pregnant. She's still a virgin. And that's how Christianity started. If she wouldn't make up that story, she would be executed. And she had an incentive, obviously, to save her life. She came and told the story. Today you have 2 billion people that live by that story. How many witnesses she had to her story? Not even one. One day, 2,400 years ago, there was a person named Buddha. He came to his friends and told them that he saw the light. And it affected his life. How many witnesses saw that he saw the light? Not even one. And so forth and so on. 80,000 times someone will come and tell a story. Not once one of them will be able to bring one witness. The only religion that started in front of the entire nation that received the Torah live from the Creator of the world for the first and last time in history is Judaism. However, it's very interesting that when we check the statistic, we see that the amount of Jews out there in the world today is only 13.2 million Jews all over the world. We are the smallest nation in the entire world. Even the American Indians have more than 13 million people. Even though you don't ever hear about them, Jews, you hear about them everywhere you go, obviously. But we are the smallest nation and we spread all over. Almost every country in the world have Jews, even Arab countries. Even in Iran, there are 30,000 Jews now, which is perhaps the biggest enemy of Israel, but still they have a lot of Jews living there. How many Muslims? Like I say, more than 1.5 billion. Christians, 2 billion. We're going to see in the lecture a little bit statistic about the situation. But my main goal tonight is to prove scientifically, without a doubt, that this Torah that we have was not given to us by rabbis. It's not a history book. It's not a combination of many wise things that people wrote and combined it into one book, like some people may think. It's a book that was given to our nation directly by the Creator of the world. Now, what's the difference? If I fail to prove that this book is the Word of God, as long as I did not prove it scientifically without a doubt, everybody can count on the chance that this book maybe it's a man-made book. Why should I dedicate my life listening to the instructions in a book that a person like me and you wrote? Why should I do such a thing? However, you have to agree with me that if we will reach 100% knowledge, 100%, not 99%, 100% knowledge that this book was given by our Creator, every step we're going to make needs His approval. If we're going to get married, with whom? If we're going to have children, if we're going to be healthy, if we're going to suffer, and so forth and so on, it all needs His approval. And based on this book and His instructions, It's very clear over there. It leaves no doubt that our future will be determined based on the choices we are going to make from now until the day of our death. It's going to be determined by the choices we are going to make. Not necessarily we see an immediate impact. We may live according to our wish, according to our understanding, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and nothing will happen, supposedly, for good or for bad. But the book promises, sooner or later, you're going to eat what you cook for yourself. Now, this is a very strong statement. It's either correct or incorrect. If it's incorrect, don't ever waste time of listening to this nonsense ever again. Why? All you have to do is find one mistake in this book. Not more, not two, one. Because divine doesn't need a second chance. If it's a divine origin book, it must be perfect 100%. If we are going to find one little mistake, for instance, if we're going to find that the Twin Towers collapse in Brooklyn, but the rest of the book is fantastic, unbelievable, but we found one mistake, there's no point of listening or counting on the rest of the book, for a very simple reason. Everything else, every order, every obligation in this book will be questionable, will have some kind of doubt into it. Why? Because the writer of the book already proved to me that he's not perfect, he's able to make mistakes. If that's the case, I'm not going to dedicate the rest of my life following his instruction, knowing there's a chance that I'm living in a lie, or it's a big mistake. However, checking history, 3,318 years, the greatest philosophers, the smartest people ever lived, the greatest people on earth were living according to this book and following all the obligations and the orders that the writer of this book gave us 3,318 years ago. Is it possible that everybody made a mistake and I'm the only smart one? That I'm able to contradict that book and do whatever I want and ignore it? Am I right? Or they were right? To give you a little bit information about our history, for those who did not know. The Jewish nation, from the time they received the Torah until 180 years ago, almost all of them were religious Jews. Whether they were Ashkenaz or Sepharad, almost everybody until 180 years ago were living according to this book. Check the history, check many history books in different languages, and you see that was the case. 180 years ago, there was a person named Moshe Mendelssohn in Europe that was an Orthodox rabbi, and he decided that it's no problem for a Jew to start learning in college. In Europe, with the Gentiles, with the Goyim, he decided there's no contradiction learning a few hours in yeshiva, and at the same day going and learning what the Goyim teach in college. That's all he did. 10 years later, each one of his sons married non-Jewish ladies and converted to Christianity. In his life, his descendants was cut completely, and he died with no Jewish grandchildren. All his grandchildren were Goyim, according to the Halakha. I don't have to tell you what happened in the last 180 years in Europe. In the Sephardic countries, in the Arab countries, until 100 years ago, it was almost impossible to find a non-religious Jew. Almost impossible. The first places when the Jews started to live religion was in Iraq. 100 years ago, when the Zionist movement opened a school, mixed boys and girls, alliance, and right after that they went to Iran, next to Iraq, and they opened the same school. And later they convinced them to make an aliyah to Israel, to the kibbutzim and the moshavim, which they established based on the communism that they brought from Russia and Poland. And later on, slowly, the Sephardic Jews started to live religion, but it's only 3-4 generations, that's all. So almost 3,300 years, almost everybody lived by this book. Is it possible that they were all wrong and only we are right? We have to investigate. Now, 14 years ago, when I was 25 years old, I went to Israel to get married to my wife. My wife is American Ashkenaz. She grew up in Manhattan. She went to Ramaz. It's a little bit religious, it's not a yeshiva. But we decided to go to Israel and get married. And I remember we did not know anything about religion. She actually knew more than me. I grew up in Israel, but I was exactly 100% like a goy. No belief whatsoever. Maybe once a year, a minute, I was thinking about God. Hesitating. Is he there? Is he listening? Is he watching? Like everybody else. Just a week after my wedding, I have a cousin in Jerusalem. He decided to make me a Sheva Brachos. I didn't even know what it is. He said, are you coming to visit your family in Jerusalem? They're all Baalei Tshuva. They became religious. I said, listen, I'm here already. I might as well go visit. He said, come, we'll make you Sheva Brachos. I went over there, and my cousin threw an atomic bomb in my face. This is what he said. So, you are successful over there in America, huh? You like this life. America, movies, fancy. That's what he was telling me. And he lives in a very tiny apartment, the size of a bathroom and another bedroom, more or less, with many children. Very poor life. And very happy life. Interesting. I was very impressed. He told me, I want to ask you a question. He told me. He said, you believe in the 10 Commandments? I started to think. I said, yes. He said, the 10 Commandments start from the most important one, which is, I'm your God that took you out of Egypt. Comes the second one. What's the second one? You should not have any other God. The third one, you should not swear on God's name. The fourth one is you should observe the Sabbath. It's a covenant between me and the Jewish nation for eternity, to know that you belong to my nation. The 6 commandments, you should not kill. So he told me, according to the book of the creator of the world, you are violating a rule that even Yasser Arafat doesn't. That's what he told me. So I said, what are you saying? He said, you are worse than Yasser Arafat. It's in my wedding, a week after my wedding, I'm sitting over there. I said, where does it come from? He said, very simple. Yasser Arafat violated the 6th commandment. He killed innocent Jews. What are you doing? You do not observe the Sabbath. And according to the writer of this book, it's a war sin. I say, you know what? I don't believe in the 10 Commandments, if that's the case. He said, fine. But I want to ask you a question. Let's assume we went to the desert and for 3 days we did not drink. We are very thirsty. We can survive one more day before we die. In less than a day, we are going to reach a motel, and over there there's clean water. We are very dizzy, and we found a house of a goy. He opened the door, and we see 100 cups of water. And we are very thirsty. And the goy say, feel free to drink as much as you want, but I just want to assure you one thing here went wrong. In one of the cups, there is a serious poison here. If you drink it, you die immediately. But I got confused. I don't know which cup. That's all. But the rest are clean. And he asked me that. Would you pick up a cup and drink knowing you're very thirsty, but you can survive one more day and save your life for sure? It's not convenience. You're going to be dizzy. Fine. But you're not going to die. Would you gamble and take a cup of water and drink? I thought about it. I said, no, why should I gamble? I wait another 10, 12 hours and I make it to safe water. So he told me, what's the chance that this cup has poison? I said 1%, 1 out of 100. He told me not even. Maybe I'm lying. Maybe the goy lied. Maybe he never put poison. But you know what? 1%, no problem. 1% chance that you're going to die right away and waste the rest of your 20, 30 years that you should live here. You are not willing to take such a risk with a 1% chance. Now I want to ask you a question, my dear cousin. Do you agree with me that there is more than 1% that this is the book of the creator of the world? Everybody in history claimed that claim. Do you agree with me that there's more than 1% chance? I say, yes, more than 1%. He said, at least 10, 15% chance? I say, yeah, maybe. I say, how is it possible that once in your life, you're 25 years old, once in your life you did not take a day or two of your life and started to read the book that claimed that is the word of the creator of the world, that everything you're going to have is determined on his orders and his directions. You never bother to read it once carefully to see what he wants from you and to try to find mistake that you know to relax your conscience that it's a waste of time. How is it possible you never investigated? You admit that for 1% chance you would not drink from that poison. But with a 10, 15 or 20 or 50 or 80% chance that this is the book of God, you ignore it? How is it possible? Then he told me one more thing. He told me like that. I live in my life, you know me, how I used to be. And you see me the way I am now. You live your life. If you are right, then when we both die, 70, 80 years old, you are happy in your life, and I'm happy in my life. I learn Torah, I have great wife, great children, we have peace in the family, great education. I love my life are full of satisfaction. I have students, I teach Torah, I learn Torah, full spiritual life. I don't suffer that I have no money. I eat very little. I just eat to live, not live to eat. And I'm very happy with my situation. And you claim that you are very happy with your situation. That's what he tells me. However, if I'm right, and this is the book of God, I am the happiest person for eternity, and you are the most miserable person for eternity. I say, why? He said, because that's what the book says. So how do you know? I say, read. Read what God said. What happened if you ignore him and you're going to be ungrateful to him after all he gave you, and you spit supposedly in his face? What's going to be the outcome? Then I got very nervous. Why? I don't like to grind water. You know what happened when you grind water? You still have water after a year. Means you wasted your time. So I say to myself, I must find a mistake in this book. Because once I find a mistake in a book, I can go back to my life and be happy. And that's how it ended. He said, would you come to us for Shabbat? I said, no, I got to go back to New York. Then I came back to New York, and my conscience bothered me. I said, what happened if this guy is right? Tomorrow is Shabbos. I got here Thursday. The next day I went to Essex Street looking for hot tray. I don't know anything about Shabbat. The last time I've been in shul when I was just 7 or 10 years old. I don't know where to start. Then, of course, the rest is history. I started to learn. I went to seminars. I read many books. And today, I am not a believer in God. I don't believe that the Torah is the word of God. I know without any doubt, if it's possible to know more than 100%, I am the one. Why? It's so easy to prove. It's so convincing that in 14 years, 13 and a half years that I'm giving lectures, and I gave more than 3,000 lectures since then, not once I found a person was able to win an argument. Why? Not because I'm a good salesman or a great speaker. Don't get me wrong. Because I sell the best product in history. Nobody can contradict the word of the creator of the world. If you watch my debate, for those who watch and those who will watch, I had a debate with a Christian professor a few months ago in Queens. We put it in the internet. Hundreds of thousands of people watched it in 45 countries.
Rabbi, I just have to make an announcement.
Yeah.
Police just came and they just said that they blocked the street. So on one side of the street we could park, but not on this side right here. So there's probably like 4 or 5 cars in the front of the house. He said you could park on the side over there because fire trucks need to be able to get by. So whoever's cars those are, we'll just take a little. We'll just take like a small.
I guess it was a good lecture.
Yeah. Just park it on the side.
That's all. Rule number one when it comes to proof if a book is divine or not starts when one of the most important foundations is the writer of the book that called himself the creator of the world is being tested for errors in his book. If we're going to find one mistake, the rest of the book, it's not relevant anymore to our life, as I mentioned before. Now, as I just told you, we don't have the time to go and check 80,000 religions or cults. So we'll address the three major religions. Few words about Islam, just to give you an idea how easy it is to prove that a book is not the Word of God. To prove that it's the Word of God may take few hours. But to prove that the book is not the Word of God, it will take less than 3-4 minutes. I would like to read you a few parts from the Quran, but before we get into it, I would like to tell you something that you may never knew before. Christianity and Islam never claimed that Judaism, it's not a true religion. The opposite. They adopted Judaism and Christianity. They claim that after God supposedly left the Jews, He chose them and gave them a second book. Same thing Christians claim, same thing Muslims. They never came and say the Jews never received the Torah in Mount Sinai. Why? It's interesting. Wouldn't it be much easier for them to come and claim that the Jews never really got anything from God? They made it up. It's a phony religion. We don't believe in your stories. Now it's the first time that we got a book, that's the Quran. The rest is nonsense. Not only they did not deny it, they use Angel Gabriel, which came from our Torah, as the one who gave Muhammad the Quran. The Christians, they call our Torah the Old Testament, and they call their book the new one, part 1, part 2. By them announcing that there is a second part, it indicates that the first part, it's needless to say that it's legitimate book. Why? It's part B of the same God. But there's only one problem. Why the Goyim, the Gentiles, did not try to contradict Judaism from the roots of that religion? Why? Nobody can come and deny today that there was a person called Napoleon. I can swear on my life that there was a person, Napoleon Bonaparte. How do I know? Did I ever see him? He's not my cousin, I promise you. How do I know? Very simple. Every culture, every language, there are stories about him. People describe his life. History knows he was there. To come and claim that that's nonsense, it never happened, it's not so wise. Take the story and change few details according to your needs. It's easier than to come and claim it never happened. So the Goyim found a trick. They say, you know what, of course Judaism is legit. But after God destroyed the second temple, He left them and chose us. There's two problems. One, the Torah promised that God will never replace the Jews with any other nation because He swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob He will never do it. Even if they deserve it, He will still not do it because He gave them a promise. They ignored that promise. And they claim that God left the Jews and chose them. The second problem is that when a person, a faker, comes and writes a book and he wants to claim to his nation that God gave him part B, it has to comply with part 1. Should never be any contradictions because it's the same God, the same writer. Therefore, do you think it's possible for the most genius person ever lived to take a book that will be a continuation of Judaism? Judaism have 24 books. Not only the 5 books of Moses. It's Joshua and the Judges and the Kings and the Prophets. All together 24 long books with millions of details, dates, names, relations, descendants of many families, ages of people, so much information. Is it possible for a person 2,000 years ago or 1,400 years ago to write a book that will not have any contradictions with Judaism? He has to know 24 books by heart, millions of words, because all he has to do is forget one person, one age, one descendants, and you catch him that he's a liar. It's impossible. Even with computer, it's impossible. See what happened to the Muslims and the Christians. Not that many Muslims and Christians know what you're going to hear now. Pay attention to this. The Quran, this is the sources. Whoever wants to go and check later on, that's why I always put the sources on. Just write it down and go check, double check, no problem. Pharaoh and Haman. Somebody smiled, that means you know history. Pharaoh and Haman and their advisor were sinners. Pharaoh told, my servants, I know you have no other God but me. And he told Haman, light the fire and create a tower for me that I can go up and look to the God of Moses, because I think he's a liar. This is the source. We don't care about that stupid story. That's not what we care about. We care about one detail here. Pharaoh and Haman were sitting together eating gondi. We have a problem. Pharaoh lived 1,000 years before Haman. The fool that wrote it made a mistake by 1-0 in the date. 1,000 years difference between them. He copied from one book from the Torah. He went to Megillat Esther and read the story about Haman. He did not know that that's about 900 and 950 years later. And he made up a story with one major mistake that shows right away that cannot be the book of God. 1.5 billion fanatic Muslims are dying for what? For a book of a fool. And they don't know it. And perhaps they'll never know. Do you think that's everything? That's nothing. Wait. Let's continue. That's Quran. You have the sources. You can write it, and later on you can check. The wife of Pharaoh is raising Moshe. Who raised Moshe Rabbeinu? The daughter of Pharaoh. Batya bat Paro. Batya, the daughter of Pharaoh. What happened? Here we go. And the wife of Pharaoh said, hey, he's going to comfort me and you. Don't kill him. We may need him later on. Fine. Here. Maria. Who's Maria? Mary. Who is Mary? Miriam. Same lady. Maria brought the baby in her hand to the people of her town. And they say, oh, Maria, what a strange thing you brought. Oh, the sister of Aaron. Your father wasn't a bad person and your mother was not a prostitute. Where did you come up with this baby? They suspected that she had maybe a baby out of nowhere. So all of a sudden, Maria, the mother of J.C. Penney, became the sister of Moshe Rabbeinu. How many years difference between Maria and Miriam? 1,300 years difference. What a mistake. Allahu Akbar. You see? And Maria, the daughter of Amram. You see? Even a kid in first grade or in kindergarten knows better Torah than the one who wrote the Quran. So, here you go. But there's many, many mistakes. We don't have time for that. And of course, that's not the topic. I just want to show you how it takes 2-3 minutes for an intelligent person to know this book could never be given by God. Right away, let's move on. Christianity. This is from Matthew. This is the evangelists. You know, they have Mark, John, Luke, Matthew. This was written perhaps 70 years after the death of Jesus. 70 years later. Some say 300 years later. It's not so clear in history. But this is what J.C. told his students. Do not think I came to contradict the Torah or the prophets. I did not come to contradict. I came to fulfill. Obviously, I'm telling you today, if heaven and earth will be destroyed, there will still not be one yud, one little small letter from the Torah will be erased. Not even a part of the letter. Therefore, someone who contradicts one of those simple laws and inform others otherwise will be cursed in the kingdom of heaven. In one sentence, right away you see all Christian people live in a lie. Why? Their false Messiah warned them not to change one mitzvah, one commandment from the Torah. Do you know one Christian that observed the Sabbath? Or put a feeling? Or eat matzah on Leila Seder? Not one of them, but that's his order. They brought him in the book. Be careful not to change one letter from the Torah. I didn't come to change. But if you turn a few pages forward, you will see that his student wanted to beat him up one day, and they got very angry at him. They wanted to cut wheat on Shabbat, which is against the law of the Sabbath. And he said, I am the master of the Sabbath. I allow you to cut wheat today. Here he just said, someone who will change one order will be cursed by God. Right after, he allowed them to do perhaps one of the most serious violations against the Torah. But when you start the New Testament, it describes all the grandchildren of King David. Because Christians knew that the Messiah must come from the family of King David. Because it says Mashiach ben David, the Mashiach from the family of King David. Therefore, they started the New Testament with supposedly a proof from the time of King David until Joseph the carpenter, which is the husband of Mary. And over there, they starting the story. Joseph leaves town. He comes back after a few months. He sees she's pregnant. She said, nobody ever touched me. God came to me in a dream. We know the story. There's only one problem. When you ask the Pope in the Vatican, excuse me, sir, who is the mother of JC? He say Mary. Everybody saw who is the mother. You cannot deny it, who is the mother. Who is the father? He's thinking, and he say God. Son of God. Tell me please, is God a grandson of King David? No. Why did you waste a page and a half to prove that Joseph the carpenter is a grandson of King David, when right after that you wrote that he was out of town, he has nothing to do with the baby? Such a stupid mistake. Even a first grade would not make such a mistake. Obviously, you understood what I said? You come and proving to me that Joseph is a grandson of King David, and then he was out of town, he has nothing to do with the baby. So he cannot be the Messiah. Do you think that's all? No. You open another book, they have the same descendants from King David until Joseph the carpenter twice. 22 mistakes in the list. In one book, they have about 30-something names. From them, 22 names are different than the other book. And they claim that both from the same God. God doesn't know the family of King David. Why do we need a God like this? He doesn't know history. Can we follow his orders? So many mistakes in one book. Let's show you another minute. We'll waste about this and we'll move on to the real stuff. Here, the Torah brings us a story. Abraham wanted to bury his wife Sarah. He went and bought the cave from Ephron Achiti. Ephron. Where is the cave? In Hebron. Everybody sees it was always there. And where did they bury Jacob? In that cave, in Hebron. Who is the father of Shechem? Hamor. Father of Shechem was Hamor. How many Jews went to Egypt to begin with? 70. The Torah says when Jacob went to Egypt to visit his son Yosef, all together there were 70 Jews. 70 people. We opened the New Testament that they claim it's from the same God. It's a continuation of our Torah. And look how many mistakes in 3 verses. Look. Jacob and his children went to Egypt and died there. And they took them to Shechem, not to Hebron, to Nablus, and buried them there in the grave that Abraham bought, not from Ephron. From who? From the children of Hamor in Nablus. 2 mistakes Critical mistakes. First, they made a mistake in the name of the town where they bury him. And second, Abraham never bought it from Hamor. Two serious mistakes. Cannot be from God. Then, Yosef sent his father to come to Egypt, and they came to Egypt with 75 people. What happened to God? He forgot there was 70 only in the Torah. In his new Torah, he gave 75. Where is another 5 came from? So you see, this is just to give you an example. In less than 5 minutes, I show you 3-4 mistakes. If I had time, I would name one mistake after the other until tomorrow morning. But they are very strict about their religion, these people. The question is, what is going on here? The only nation that really receive a book from God is us. And we choose to ignore it, most of us. From 13.2 million Jews today, how many of them are religious? How many of them live by the law? Less than 2 million, perhaps. Approximately 2 million, maybe 3 million. Not even a quarter. There are perhaps more than 10 million Jews that live, and if you wake them up in the morning and tell me, excuse me, sir, can you tell me please what's the purpose of life? Where are you heading to? What are your goals? Why do we live here for? He will not know to give any answer. So most likely people would say we live here to make as much money as we can. Some would say to get married and have children. Some say to have entertainments and vacation as much as we can, to enjoy the food and the sun. Everybody has, sports, hobbies, to learn a little bit. Everybody has his opinion what life is all about. I want to ask you a question. It's not a joke. Who can raise his hand here and tell me why is it better to be a person, not a Jew? We're not talking about religions now. A person, why is it better to be a person and not a dog or a chimpanzee in a safari? Why? Speak? The chimpanzees speak beautiful. They call one another, they have noises, they cry, they laugh. Believe me, the birds communicate every morning. Open 5 o'clock in the morning in the summer, 6 o'clock in the morning, listen to the birds. One is whistling 3 times, you go from the other side 7 times. 3, 7, 3, 7. They talk. King Solomon said the birds and the animals communicate. Even the trees communicate.
Choice. Freedom of choice.
Who needs freedom of choice? Who needs it? What's good about it?
We could reason. Is that the answer?
Okay. Let's analyze one by one. I'll save you time. If the purpose of life, please, if the purpose of life was to enjoy food, we would not need to be human beings. Why? Do you see the dogs, what great life they have? They wake up in the morning, they come to the garbage bags in the driveway. They have Chinese, Italian, Japanese, Persian, every restaurant they want. They reap as much as food as they want. They don't have to work, they don't have to cook, they don't have to go shopping for that. Remember, most people in the world have to bother a lot until they bring a meal to the table. 99.9% of the people in the world are working very hard to have food. They don't have to. They come to the garbage, they have whatever they want. Remember, they don't suffer that they eat your leftover. For them, they don't have the intelligence to know I'm eating somebody's germs. They love it. The leftover, they're going to love it. Throw them spoiled fish, they eat it. Give them bones, they enjoy it. So they don't have problems. They don't have to work 30 years to pay the mortgage. They don't have stress, bills, children education. They don't have to raise each kid 20 years, change diapers, vaccines, doctors, surgeries, flying to this specialist. All the problems that people have, none of it they have. They don't need haircuts. They don't need to go shopping half of their life. They don't have all this. They don't have IRS. They don't have to work 10 hours a day. They don't have to be 4 hours in traffic in Manhattan until you move 1 block in 37th Street, 2 hours. They don't have all this. The chimpanzee wake up in the morning, today he wants 10 females. He doesn't have to take them to the club. He doesn't have to buy them drinks. He doesn't have to wait 15 times until she goes into the bathroom and comes out and go like this 20 times and change. He doesn't have all this nonsense. He goes like this, he moves his tail, she moves her tail, husband and wife after 2 minutes. Then a minute later he doesn't want her, he has another wife. Great life. You saw in Bronx Zoo that lion, 20 years is on a rock enjoying life. No problem, no stress, no gray hair. What do they have, the animals? They swim better, they run better. Tell me one reason. I'm serious. You think it's a joke, but it's a very deep point what I'm saying here. Show me one reason why it's better to be us, a person, than a chimpanzee in a jungle. No? Who has the answer?
Logical thought.
What, intelligence? They also have intelligence. They have intelligence. A butterfly can find his female from 60 kilometers away. You know, it's like 40 miles away. From here to Manhattan. They communicate. Bees.
That's instinct or intelligence?
My aunt had a dog. She gave it to her son 30 kilometers away from Jerusalem. He found the way to Jerusalem by himself to the house. 30 kilometers. He went and he found the house. They think they can do things. So what's the point here?
We could reason. We could reason.
No, show me why it's a benefit.
We have a choice.
Choice. We have a choice. So that's true. That's a true statement. The animals don't have a choice. They live by the instincts. They see fire, they run away. The tiger, when he sees the zebra, when he's hungry, he is going to attack no matter what. There's never going to be a possibility that I'm going to ask him, excuse me, Mr. Tiger, 5 more minutes. We're filming now this zebra. 5 more minutes, we'll give you a bonus. Don't touch it 5 more minutes. There's nobody to talk to. Instinct. I'm hungry, I attack. Sometimes I feel that we are also like this in the weddings. When they bring the cakes in the end, what happened in the wedding hall? Shh, everybody move to the left. The wedding is over. Why? They brought watermelons. Whatever, you know. The point that I'm making, it looks like a joke. I'm trying to be funny. I will not deny it. But it's a very serious matter. That the answer is, I asked this question for a few years and I never found one person that was able to give me one reason why it's better to be people and not dogs or chimpanzees. And it's very sad. Because supposedly we think we are superior. We are much greater than the animals. We control nature. We're in charge of those animals. We use them for our benefits. And we have nothing better than them. It's interesting. Our life is much more miserable than their life. Just the fact that we live with worrying what's going to be all the time and they don't have it, that's already a serious problem that we have. The amount of efforts that we have to invest in our children, and in the end, who knows what's going to come out of them? A drug addict, a murderer, 20 years in prison, a con artist, forging credit cards. I don't have to tell you what's going on in this country. How many Jews are sitting in a white-collar jail? Do you have an idea how many? 1 out of every 100 Americans is in a federal jail. 1 out of every American. More than 2.5 million prisoners. Most of them from trying to be rich in a shortcut. Let's do it fast. I don't have 20 years patience. Most of us will go to college and spend 6, 7, or 8 years, a lot of money, learn a lot, invest so much efforts for the chance that maybe I will graduate and become a lawyer or a doctor. Not always it's the case. Sometimes people fail. But let's assume I will be successful. By the time I will become a lawyer or a doctor, there's no guarantee I'm going to find a good job. Some of them never found a good job. And in the end, they say, you know what, for the amount of money I invested, it wasn't such a good deal. And sometimes people give up. After 2 or 3 years, they see that that's not what they want to do. And they drop out. And many other problems. So the point is, we are going to invest so much for things that we don't even have 10, 20% certainty that we are going to continue with. We have no problem with that. Why? Because our parents told us, because that's the way society is, that's what my friends did. So many risks. But in the most important thing in life, understanding what am I doing here, why my Creator put me here, nobody knows. And nobody cares. Now I would like to move on. How do we know for sure that there is God in this world? Somebody asks you, prove to me that God exists. I don't believe in God. Prove. No belief, stories, feelings. Prove, scientific proof. I want to know there is God in this world. How do you prove? In less than a minute. 3 sentences. No? Who knows the order?
Dave knows. I don't know.
It's sometimes better to say I don't know than to make up something. No?
You look at the world.
You can prove it.
Oh,
There's
Everything.
that's a good start. Yeah.
teleological argument. It's
Yeah.
called.
Yeah. So?
It's that the world works in the way that the world works, that everything works without interfering with anything else in a way that it's a statistical impossibility for it to work the way it does without a string puller, without someone pulling the strings.
Right.
For instance, nitrogen fixation is required for trees to live.
Right.
Lightning is the main cause, is the main contributor of nitrogen fixation. If there's too much lightning, the world will scorch.
I agree. You don't have to go to specific examples because you know we're gonna finish next year. But the rule is like this. I agree with everything you say, but I would like to make it a little bit shorter. So listen to this. First, if there is a creation, there must be a creator. We never found in history a creation that was made without an intelligent creator. Every creation has a purpose. Can we point in one creation in history that was made without a purpose? A table has a purpose. A laptop has a purpose. The rug has a purpose. The light has a purpose. Everything has a purpose. Light, because we need to see where we're going. The rug, because we want to enjoy, and we want to enjoy the beauty, and many other reasons. Chairs, why the chair is like this? That our back will not break. We want to lean. Why it has 4 chairs? Make it with 2 or 3. What's the problem? It's worthless. Why a watch is like this? That it won't fall. Everything was planned before they came to make it. Is it possible to think that everything that was made here was made for a purpose? But the most important thing and the most sophisticated machine with a human being, with his brain, 10 trillion connections, more than all the telecommunications in the world multiplied by 100 is one human brain. Even if he's a stupid person, he's still more sophisticated than everybody together. AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, everybody, name it. They don't have 1% from the connections that you have in one brain. Is it possible to think that that creation was made for no purpose? Everything that I have has no purpose? I was put here by a certain creator for no purpose? He made me just for fun? So now we have to investigate. One more thing we have to say. The more sophisticated is the creation, it indicates about the brilliance of the creator. Right? The more sophisticated is the machine. For instance, to make a chair, do you need to be a genius? No. You learn a day or two, you make a chair. To make a computer, it's not enough to learn a day or two. It's years of learning. Experiments, one after the other, testing, thinking, writing. The more sophisticated the creation, it indicates how brilliant is the creation, the creator. And obviously, nothing is more sophisticated than us. Now, we come back to the most important point. Let's analyze. Without Torah, remember, I'm not even talking Torah yet. I'm just talking investigation in a human intelligence. What was the purpose of life? That I will eat and enjoy food? No, for sure not. Why? There are millions of people who are starving to death every year in the world. or they're very difficult for them to have food, and for sure their food is not fresh and not tasty. So if the Creator made us to eat, everybody will have an equal amount of food. It will be the same taste, the same freshness, and everything else. We see that that's not the case. To have fancy clothing, we see it's not the case. To drive fancy cars, most people don't have fancy cars, or if they have cars at all. For what? To have children? There are millions of people who never got married and never had children. Or they married, 15% of the Jewish people are barren. 15% of the marriages ended up with problems with the ability of having children. 15%. So, that's not the case. What is the purpose of life? Let's invest. Let's continue to investigate. To make money, most people don't have money. To be smart, I don't have to tell you the situation in the world. Most people, unfortunately, are not smart. To be happy, 1 out of million people maybe is happy. They asked Bill Gates in Israel a year ago in an interview in prime time, you are the right person to ask. Does money bring happiness? What was his answer? Absolutely not. No, he didn't even hesitate a second. And this is what he said. I'll never forget this. He said, when I'll die, before I die, I'm going to leave my children only $10 million. For those who understand how much he have, he doesn't leave them 1% of 1% of 1% of 1% of 1% of what he have. Why? They're not important to him. He's only going to leave them enough to live decent life because he loves them. He doesn't want them to have billions. Because they are not going to bring them happiness. Perhaps he will make it worse for them. Everything he makes, he gives to charity, a goy, without Torah. Without understanding the value of charity, he already gave 17 billion, just in the last few years, to people that he doesn't know. Why? Because they suffer, he wants to make their life better. What's the point here? He already said, and King Solomon said before him, that money never and will never bring happiness to a person. So what's the purpose of life? To have peace in a family? It's rare to find happiness in a family. Peace, no arguments, no cursing, no divorce problem, no lawyers, argument, prenuptial agreement. It's very difficult. To be skinny? How many people have nice body? To be healthy? Do you know one person that doesn't have some kind of sickness? Oh, it's rare. Everyone has some kind of problem. Stomach problem, ulcer, teeth problem. We all have defects. So what's the purpose? The Torah answered this question in few words. There is no advantage to the human being whatsoever compared to the animals. Nothing. Except one. The pure divine soul that was put in the body of every person. So, why do I need that soul? The sentence continues. That we're going to be judged in front of the Master of Universe after death. And report for every word and every transaction that he made in the 70, 80 years that he lived here. Where does it say it even more clearly? Ayin ro'ah, there's an eye who watch over you all the time. Ve'ozen shomat, there's an ear that listen to everything you say. Ve'chol ma'asecha b'sefer nichtavim. Everything you're doing, you're practically, you're mamash doing everything. What is it? Everything is being registered. For what? For the archive? To show it on 60 Minutes? On CBS? For what? Why is bothering to record everything? Why? Because of my friend here. He said it before. What did he say? Free choice. But I ask him, I challenge him. Free choice, big deal. Who needs it? I'd rather be a robot and happy than having a free choice and miserable, no? Enjoy every moment. Who cares that God is moving me with remote control? Who needs that free choice? The free choice is the tool to earn pleasure, spiritual pleasure. Without a free choice, your life is worthless. There's no point of living here. Free choice will determine if in the end you're going to get a great mark or you're going to fail. What's going to be the outcome if you fail in your life? Either you're going to have to restart everything, that's what we call reincarnation. Maybe one day we'll make a lecture, Life After Life, and it's going to be a very interesting lecture, so you'll understand what I'm talking about. Or, after that, a person will have to pay for good or for bad for everything he did. Now, we may think, it's not my problem. Why? I have 5 senses. My Creator made me with 5 senses. There is no way for me to prove that He exists and He managed the creation with my 5 senses. Can I taste Him? Can I touch Him? Can I see Him? Can I smell Him? Can I hear Him? No. 5 senses that He gave me, it's no way for me to prove that He exists. In that case, when I come in front of Him after 120 years, I'm going to say, objection, Your Honor. What do you want from me? Where is the justice? You made me a defected machine. I had no way to prove that you're here and you exist and running the show. What are you coming to judge me for? The answer will be, 5 senses is important, that there's much more than that in life. Did you hear about the word wisdom? Intelligent, being bright, investigate. I'm sure each one of you at least once in your life got on a plane on the way to Israel. How did you have the guts to get on a plane going 15,000 kilometers across the ocean, and you counted on the plane to find its destination? How does the plane know where to fly to? What's directing the planes to get to every airport in the world? The answer is radio waves. Can you prove that radio waves exist with your 5 senses? Not with equipment, with your 5 senses. Can you prove that they exist? Can you taste them? Can you touch them? Can you see them in the air? There are billions of radio waves around us all the time. Can you see them? No, you cannot prove they exist. But you have no problem getting on a plane. You know why? It's enough for you to see that hundreds of flights took off from Kennedy and went to Israel and got there. Something in the air leads them to their destination. That means there's something in the air that is very productive and very helpful to us. One Russian teacher in Russia said in a class, something that cannot be proven with the 5 senses does not exist. One Jew got up and said, excuse me, in that case, you don't have any intelligence. He told the teacher. She said, what do you mean? Can we taste your intelligence? Can we touch it? Can we see it? Can we hear it? Can we feel it with our hands? It does not exist. She said, I'm sorry, I correct myself, you're right. Almost the most important things in life, if you really check, cannot be proven with the 5 senses. So how do we know they exist? We have to investigate. 2 times x, it's 6. How much is x? 2 times x is 6. How much is x? Can you prove it with your 5 senses? So why you believe? If you had to gamble $1 million that it's 3, would you hesitate?
No.
But it cannot be proven with the 5 senses. When we read in the Torah, we find something very interesting. What do we find? We found that almost in every page in the Torah, we can point and prove that this particular sentence could never be written by a human being. I'll give you an example. For those who attended in shul services on Shabbat, we read about the red cow. Anybody ever heard about red cow? What's so special about a red cow? Who can prove to me from a red cow that this part in the Torah could never be written by a human being? Who can prove? Please.
Because no human being can understand what the reasoning is for it.
Somebody made it up. Somebody decided to make up nonsense and he wrote it in a book. That's why nobody understands it, because it's nonsense. I'm giving you a challenge, you understand? I'm trying to be in the crowd now, yeah.
Cows aren't normally red. Somebody that's really red.
It's enough that somebody saw 3,000 years ago that his neighbor had a red cow and he wrote it in a book. It's not an indication. Huh?
Every single hair?
Not every single year. He saw one and you wrote it. It's enough to see one. You don't need more than one. I'll tell you how. The Torah says, the Torah asks this question, is a Jew allowed to buy a red cow from a goy? What's the question? Because the Torah says we need to get the red cow that nobody ever put any weight on the back of the cow. If somebody sat on it once or put any bag on top of it, it's not holy anymore. It's not special. It's worthless. You cannot use it. In history, we had 9 red cows. We're expecting the last one to come soon. We need it for the salvation, for the rebuild of the third holy temple. But the interesting part about it, the Gemara brings a story. Pay attention carefully to this story. It will take a minute. It will leave you no doubt. One guy woke up in the morning and he saw he had a red cow. The Jews heard right away. They ran to him and wanted to buy the cow before he realized what a cow he just had. So they asked him how much. He said 2 coins of gold. The Jews got the 2 coins of gold, no argument. The guy said, if the Jews don't argue about the price, something is fishy here. So he said, wait 5 minutes. He went to the neighbor. He asked the neighbor, why the Jews are so generous today? He said, well, what's the story? He said, I have a red cow. They're willing to buy it right away. The neighbor said, you fool, you don't know any religion? What's wrong with you? They'll give you anything you want for that cow. They were waiting for this cow for a long, long time. The guy came back and said, 4 coins of gold. So the Jew said, no problem, 4, pack it, put it in a box. He said, no, I meant 8. No problem, put it in another box. 20, fine. 1,000. The guy said, the Jew said, what's going on here? You got to make up your mind. Let's make a deal. We'll give you the 1,000 with condition that you're not going to raise the price anymore. Yes, no. So, okay, you have 1,000 coins of gold. He said, tomorrow we'll come up with a bag and we'll buy it from you. Prepare the cow for us. The Jews left. The guy came to the neighbor and said, thank you for your help. From 2, I got up to 1,000. But I cannot stand those Jews. I'm not going to give them what they want. You just told me yesterday that if I put a weight on the back of this cow, it's not going to worth anything. It's going to be a regular cow. All night I put a bag of flour on the back of the cow. When the Jews come in the morning, I get rid of the bag. I'll give them the cow. End of story. I'll make up the money and I give them nonsense. Nothing. The Jews came in the morning. They say, you have the cow? We say, let me go bring it. Just when he brought the cow out, the Jews put a pile of coin of gold on the table. The guy saw the gold. Wow. I made a deal of my life. The Jew said, not that fast, my friend. 1 second. He took out a magnifying glass. He went to the neck of the cow, the rabbi, and he went like this. Uh-oh, we have a problem. The other rabbi came to the front of the cow, looked at the eyes, and said to the guy, this is the word of the Gemara, go make fun at your mother. The guy said, what happened? He packed all the coins of gold, and they say, adios, amigo, no deal. The guy went back into his house, and he started to cry and say, bless you, the one who chose this nation to be his children. He took a rope, and he hung himself to death. That's the story. What happened over here? Do you think I'm in a mood to tell you stories? Every story have a proof in it. What's the proof here? The Torah says everything in the creation has 2 witnesses that testify about it. You want to eat a kosher animals, the animals have to have 2 signs. Kosher fish, 2 signs. Kosher red cow, 2 signs. What are the 2 signs? If you put any weight on the back of the red cow, there are 2 hairs in the neck of the cow that fall down and will never rise back up, ever. No matter how much you're going to brush it, it will continue to fall down. That's one problem, one sign. The eyes of the cow, normally it's straight. If you put any weight on that, even for a second, it becomes cross-eyed. And will never go back to normal. 2 signs. That's why the Jews say, the Gemara say, it's kosher. You can buy it from any guy you want, because you don't have to rely on his testimony. The guy will never tell you put a weight on it. He wants to get your money. Business. You don't have to believe him. You have to check. You can check right now if somebody ever put weight on it. How? 2 hairs in the neck and the eyes. I want to ask you as an intelligent people here, and I'm sure you all are, if you ever thought that a person wrote the Torah, Rabbi, it's a history book, whatever you thought, do you know any human being that one day decided to fool the public and write a book and claim that he got it from God? He's trying to trick the people. Do you know any person that would imagine to write out of nowhere this mitzvah, a red cow? You have to slaughter it, to burn it, mix it with water from the shiloach, spring water, splash it on the impure kohanim. What does it mean? Pure, impure. It's all so weird, this whole story. Such a weird story. And not only that, there are 2 signs in a cow. Now, how many hairs the cow have? More than 10 million. From millions of hairs, only 2 are special. Somewhere in the body of the cow. And the eyes. What person would have this kind of information to write it in a book? How would he imagine that that's going to be the outcome? That's going to be the results of putting any weight on the back of the cow. How will he know what to expect? Unless if he received it from the creator of that cow and the creator of the entire world. Who would know to write such a thing in a book? Who? Out of where? Would you ever think to make up such a mitzvah and you would know that 2 hairs will react different than 10 million? Who would give you this information? Even if you wanted to make up the wildest story, you would not think about such a thing. Only a divine superpower were able to give us such information. Now I want to tell you something that maybe you never thought about. Which religion is the most sophisticated religion in the world? With so much details. Judaism. For those who thought that Moshe made it up, for whatever reason he came and he wanted to convince the Jews that God gave him the Torah. If I want to be a crook, and I want to fool you, and I want to tell you that God gave me this book because I want everybody here to listen to my orders and give me as much as money as I want. Let's describe a scenario. What would I make? An easy book to practice, to follow, or a very difficult book? What would I come up with? An easy book that everybody will say, God bless you, what an easy book, we're happy, very good, we're going to follow the word of God. Like Christians, a little bit piano in a church, some smoke, hallelujah, very good, we're religious. Hey, I sin, I lie, here is $50 for you, you're forgiven, son, you're forgiven, very easy. Why should we argue with the priest? We with you 100%, it's very easy. So, first question, why Moshe, for those who think he's a crook, and he made it up, why would he make such a difficult religion to follow? Question number 1. Second, 80% at least of the mitzvot of Judaism, excuse my language, may God forgive me, it's very strange and very weird. Every order, every book of order, the laws of Microsoft are all making sense. The IRS laws making sense. The government laws, the police laws, the highway roads, everything makes sense. Comes the Jewish Torah, 80% of the mitzvot are against human logic. Investigate, you don't understand. For instance, there's a mitzvah, one day you walk in the street, you see a bird in a nest. You climb on a tree, you send the mother away, you take the chicks or the eggs, you put them somewhere on the floor. Thanks to that, you're going to have long life. Great mitzvah. That's what the Torah says. What normal human being with the wildest imagination would write in a book such a commandment to the people to do? First, the people will hate him for that, because it's cruelty. What did the birds do to you, Mr. Moshe? You came today with a very angry mood. We love the birds. We don't want to kill birds. We don't want to be so cruel. Why are you fooling us? That's the question they should have asked him. That's before they turned the page and they saw there's hundreds of sacrifices every day. You made a little sin, sacrifice. Little sin, another sheep, another cow. What's going on here? Nobody ever understood that secret. 1 week in a year coming soon, make sure you don't have any breadcrumbs on the floor in your house in the closet. Who cares? You want me to give you money, donation, Rabbi? Just tell me how much. Cut the nonsense. Bread, beer, be careful. What's this? Who cares? Why are you making your life hard on me? Tell me how much you want and let me do whatever I want. What is this? Don't do this. Make a sukkah. Sit outside. No Shabbat. No. What's going on here? Why would Moshe fight against his purpose? Doesn't make sense. Do you think that's all? It's getting better. From which family Moshe Rabbeinu was? The Levites. Levi. Who's the Levi here? Who's the Levi? He had a great grandfather. Moshe gave real estate to the entire nation. The greatest places in Israel. Tel Aviv, Haifa, all these places. Who gave them to the tribes? Moshe. He owned the land. And he gave to the tribes, each one of them a territory. Which family did not get any piece of land? His family. Nothing. Every king, every Arab king, once he gets into control, what's the first thing he do? Steal as much money as he can. Saddam Hussein, $40 billion. The Iranian Shah, $40 billion. The Assad control everything. Arafat, they found billions of dollars everywhere. They take care of them, their family, as much as money as they can steal, they put away. What? We want to live until age 5,000. We're afraid that the money will run out. And every king, before he dies, he makes sure that his son will take his place. King Hussein, Assad, Hosni Mubarak in Egypt, everybody. The Iranian Shah, if they wouldn't kick him out, he will make his son the president, the king. He couldn't do it, but that was his wish. And it's perfectly fine, it's normal. Moshe Rabbeinu does not inherit the kingdom to his sons. They get nothing. You hardly hear about them once in the Torah. They got nothing. His family got no real estate. Nothing. Moshe Rabbeinu brings a book for those who think he's a crook and he made it up. He writes about himself in a book that is stuttering. Why would I write on myself that I have a problem, a defect? Did you ever find one bad word about Muhammad in the Quran? You'll never find. Did you ever find any bad word about JCPenney in Christianity? You'll never find. Did you ever hear any comment against Buddha? You will never find. You know what? Because when liars write a book, all the negative stuff they shove under the rug. Who wants his hero to look so bad? Stuttering, he can hardly talk. Moshe wrote about himself. God got angry at me. He did not let me enter the land. I was stuttering. My children are nothing. I didn't give a piece of land to my children. Nothing. Where is it? It's an objective book. No nonsense, because that's the truth. The only book in history that is really objective and it brings the positive and the negative information, it's the Torah. King David, a great person, he made a mistake here and there. Moshe, he made few mistakes. Yaakov, make mistake. Abraham, make mistake. Why? Because that's the truth. With God, it's not a liar. Every word must be true. I am the God of the justice, of the truth. Will not receive any bribe, will not prefer one person from the other. Everything is 100% justice. Therefore, in the Torah, you will never find a lie. Now, how do you know what's considered a proof? Here is a proof. The Torah says, go check in history. Did a person ever hear, does ever a group of people ever heard that me, God, spoke to them from the fire like you heard? did any group of goyim can ever come and claim that they heard the voice of God. Not an individual. A group. This was written 3,318 years ago. The writer of this page took a huge risk. 80,000 times this prophecy were taken, were investigated 100%, and it was always correct. 80,000 times one person came and claimed that God gave him a book or spoke to him. Not once he brought few witnesses and bribed them and say that you saw that I received this book from God. Not once. You know why? Because the Torah promised it will never happen. The Torah says there will be plenty of people, individuals, that will come and claim that I gave them a book or that I made them the prophet, like Muhammad. How the Muslims call Muhammad? The Prophet Muhammad. Let's make a deal. I'll take you on my expense to any restaurant you want, kosher, any restaurant you want, if you find one prophecy in the Quran. Not one prophecy in the Quran. They still call him until this moment the Prophet Muhammad. Prophet is the one who gave prophecies. Not one prophecy in the entire Quran. Judaism, let's make a deal. Bring the Torah from the closet here, open it whatever you want. I'll find your prophecy in that page. Guarantee. Every chapter in the Torah have prophecy. 1, 2, 5, 10 or 50 in one chapter. What does it mean, a prophecy? Knowledge about the far future that we have no indication that something like this could happen. Most of the prophecies in the Torah are against all odds, against logic. It's a huge gambling, huge risk to write such a thing in a book, because it's impossible to be right unless if you're the creator of the world. Nobody can write such a thing. For instance, the Torah says it will never happen that a group of goyim will come and claim that I gave them a book or spoke to them. It will never happen. It's enough that tomorrow morning or 200 years ago, 5 or 4 goyim would come to CNN or to anywhere you want and claim that God spoke to them in a desert somewhere, even though we know 100% they're lying. It will be the end of Judaism. Why? 4 crooks coming and claim that God spoke to him, that's the end of our great religion? Yes. Why? It will be the first mistake in the Torah. The Torah promised not only that it will never happen, I know I will never give them any book or speak to them. It will never happen that they even lie about it. Even this I will prevent. Do you know any person can promise such a thing? 3,318 years he was right? Who? Who could gamble such a gambling? That's nothing yet. How do we know for sure that Mount Sinai really took place? How do we know for sure that God really spoke to 15 million Jews and everybody heard the voice of God? For sure. We can swear on our life right now.
No one's refuted it.
Huh?
No one's refuted it to this day.
You're close.
Why would they lie?
Be more precise.
Why would they lie to their children and tell them this?
You also right. Get to the heart of it. No.
You can't lie to that many people.
What's your question?
You can't.
How can we swear 100% that the Jews, everyone heard the voice of God?
Every one of them were there.
There
They were all there.
But how do we know it? Maybe the book's saying it, but they really never happened.
Holidays? Holidays? Stories?
There's 2 Torahs.
You're all right, don't get me wrong, but I want to get to the heart of it.
No one disagreed with it.
The fact that we know.
You're very close, no?
So if one person came and said this and it wasn't true, they would find out right away.
No one
They
denied
would
it.
know. Because they'd say, okay, where are the other...
Thank you very much. Let me add salt and pepper to you. Oh, pay attention. We're getting now the Torah live. God just gave us the Torah. Moshe brought us a book from God, right? We don't know if he got it from God or not. How would we know right now that he did? We open up the book and we begin to read. Who does the Torah speak about? My father, my grandfather, or is speaking about me? I am the receiver of the Torah live in Mount Sinai. I'm receiving a book. I'm beginning to read in the book, and this is what I read. You saw that God is the master, there is no other. And you heard his voice from heaven. You heard the voice of God speaking to Moshe in front of your eyes. I would say, excuse me, sir, Mr. Moshe ben Amram, how much nerve you have today. You came out of nowhere now from the clouds, and you're coming to tell me that I must dedicate my life and follow your book that you brought from the creator of the world. That's what you claim, right? But I am not a fool. I know that if I'm going to find one mistake in that book, that means you are a liar. It's not from God. Here is the mistake. I show you. It says that God did all these magics in Egypt in front of us, or that we heard the voice of God speaking from the fire and we stayed alive to testify about it. Anybody here heard the voice of God? Please raise his hand. It's enough from 15 million people that one would raise his hand. Excuse me, I never heard God. I'm here already a few hours. I don't know where I was. Maybe I was dreaming, but I never heard God. Then another person would say, I also didn't hear. And she would say, and he would say, and then the entire crowd would scream, that's a mistake in the book. The book says that we heard you and God having a dialogue. We never heard. That will be the end of it. The fact that nobody denied it at the spot means they approved it. Sure, we heard. Now remember, they have all the reasons in the world to fight against this Moshe and his book. For many reasons. Nobody wants tomorrow to become religious and change his lifestyle completely. He has a goal, he has all kinds of dreams. It may ruin his plan. That's problem number one. Problem number two is, the Torah just said that you're not allowed to marry your aunt. The sister of your father are forbidden to you. You cannot. Now, there were thousands of Jews that are married to their aunts right now, with 5, 6, 7, 12 children. When they open up the book, they just found out their life were destroyed completely. Among them, the parents of Moshe Rabbeinu, the one who brought the book. You came to destroy your parents' life? He married his aunt, Amram, Yocheved. Thousands of Jews started to cry, the Gemara said, when they read it. I love my wife, Moshe. Why God is doing it to us? Why? We have such wonderful children. I love my wife. Your book is a lie. You're a liar. We're going to kill you. Nobody said that. Because they heard God speaking. With that you cannot argue. Everything you want I can argue with. I heard God. The book says I heard God. I know it. It happened. I heard him. That's why I'm going to say whatever you say we're going to do. That's what they told him. Na'aseh v'nishma. And you know what else? If you read in the Torah, they had thousands of cows ready for the holiday. Which holiday it was? Shavuos. 49 days after Pesach, Shavuos, the acceptance of the Torah. Thousands of cows. You know how much a cow cost? How much a cow cost? $10,000. Yes, you have thousands of steaks in one cow. You see how big it is? Go to the zoo, see how big the cows are. $10,000 a cow. How many cows you need to feed 15 million people? You have to agree with me that at least 3,000-4,000 cows, minimum, right? To feed 15 million people for the holiday, to each one of them give a piece of steak. You need thousands of cows. Millions of dollars are ready to eat. But we just read that it was slaughtered with a regular knife. It's not kosher. What are we going to do with these cows? Going to kick it to the garbage. Cannot eat it. There's no Arabs to sell it to them halal meat. That's what the Arabs buy. The meat that we slaughter and they were not kosher, with a knife or problem in a lung, we send it to Ahmed. Halal. Yes, the Arabs don't eat a cow like the Christians that was shot. They only eat slaughtering. How it was slaughtered, you can bring a sword from Home Depot. It's no problem. As long as the throat was cut for the Arabs. But That's the reason that until today, 3,318 years, Jews all over the world eat dairy, food, and Shavuos. There was not enough time to re-slaughter cows now and start checking them and clean the skin and all that. It takes hours. It's Yom Tov in few hours. We don't have time. They went to the cow, they milked them, they made cheesecake, burekas, this, pav. And that's what they did. Until today you eat dairy and Shavuos. Did you ever think why? Why all of a sudden we eat cheesecake? Somebody decided to change the menu? No. Because thousands of cows had to be thrown to the garbage. Why? Because we just found out that we prepared them in the wrong way. And many, 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 many other examples. Now remember, they had all the reason in the world to resist Moshe Rabbeinu. A lot of them had to give up their life. And they agreed to become religious. Why? With such a proof you can argue. We, however, have to use our intelligence to know that it's really happened. How? Here is an example. I'm skipping some, as you can see. Here is an example. Here. How many mitzvot we have in the Torah? 613. Why the creator of the world decided to choose such a number? Give me 500, 600, 700. Even number. What? 613. What's the secret here? Has to have a reason.
It keeps going.
Excuse me?
It keeps going. It doesn't have a number to stop at.
I never heard that. I always learn something new. I have a different reason. You know what? If you operate a body of a person and break it to pieces, you have 613 parts, organs in the body. 248 organs, 365 ligaments. Together, 613 parts in the Lego, in the puzzle, which call human being, a body. When we open up the Torah, we find something very interesting. How many positive mitzvot we have in the Torah? 248. Coincidence? I don't think so. Each positive mitzvah connects to one organ in a body. Each restriction in the Torah, how many restrictions? 365. Connects to one ligament in a body. The Kabbalah says, when the soul leaves the body and rise up to heaven to start the 1 year trial after that. That's why we say Kaddish for 1 year on a person that died. Nothing is just a custom. Everything have a deep meaning. The fact that you don't know it, remember what I said in the beginning, ignorance is very painful price. For ignorance you pay a very heavy price. That's why it's a mitzvah not to be ignorant. The only religion that it's a crime to be an ignorant person is Judaism. You can be Muslims completely empty brain. He doesn't know anything. Nobody hold it against you. You can still marry the daughter of the Qadi. Why? Nobody ever thought that you have to be knowledgeable in Islam. You don't know, you don't know. Christianity, just tell us how much money you have in your bank account. Come on. We don't care, you know, you don't know. Judaism, read. All over the written and the oral Torah, there's a constant repeat, and again and again. Ignorant Jew is the last in the list. The last in my list, God says, is the last one on the list. There are so many things that the Torah speak against ignorance. It's scary to be an ignorant. I'll give you one example. The Torah says someone who has a daughter and he marry her to a Jew that does not know my book, an ignorant Jew. He can be a genius in computer. He can be a great doctor. The greatest judge in the world. Not the one who just was found in a hotel. A fair one, a good one, a clean one. Clean reputation. But he doesn't know Torah. It's not impressive to God that he's a great lawyer. It's nice. He makes a nice living. Very nice. It's not against the Torah, by the way. Don't get me wrong. Maybe I'm being a little sarcastic over it. It's mitzvah to make money, to live comfortable life. Nobody told you in the Torah you have to suffer. We are not Christians that we have to torture ourselves. No. Life have enough challenges. If God blessed you with money, you have to live decent and enjoy life. There's no contradiction whatsoever. Don't ever let people fool you. There's no contradiction whatsoever. Being successful financially and at the same time be righteous and follow the words of God and not being ungrateful. I know many successful professional people which I happen to make them religious, and some of them became religious on their own. Top people, top. That keeping all the mitzvot, and they're still very successful in business. And some of them give millions of dollars to charity every year. Every year. Why? No contradiction. Some people think if I'll become religious, then I won't be able to be a big shot in a business. Nonsense. Avraham Avinu, you heard about him? He was a billionaire. Yaakov, you heard about him? He was a billionaire. Yitzchak, you heard about him? He was a billionaire. Yosef, you heard about him? He was a billionaire. The treasury of Egypt. Pharaoh need permission from him to take money out of the storages. Read in the Torah. No contradiction. Where do you bring all this idea for? Nonsense. Put it away. It's not true. Don't be a thief. That's a different story. Don't be a crook. Don't forge signatures. Don't tell the customer the tuna fish is from this morning. Yes. But that's a whole different lecture about faith. We'll leave it for another time. Just before we finish, I want to conclude this slide. What's this slide saying? When we receive the Torah, we receive the written and the oral Torah together in the desert. Together. There is no way to make one commandment, one mitzvah in the Torah without reading carefully all the instructions in the oral Torah. Not that many people know, even religious people that learn in yeshivot, not always know it, that the Jews practiced Judaism 40 years before they officially got the first copy of the written Torah. The first copy of the written Torah, actually the first 13 copies, were made in the last year of the life of Moshe, just before he died. He wrote 13 Sifrei Torah, and he gave one to each tribe, and one they put in the coffin over there. Why? To be a source for all the others, not to make mistakes. That was in the last year of Moshe's life. How did the Jews keep all the laws if they still did not have the scroll of the Torah? Very simple. What is it like? I have an uncle. I don't, but just for the argument's sake. I have an uncle, and he's a great brain surgeon. Top in the world. Make $1 million a month because he's such a great brain surgeon. One day I say, hey, uncle, do me a favor. I'm tired of running around giving lectures, like this. I want to be a doctor, but I don't want to go 7 years to medical school. I don't have patience for this. Help me out. Teach me how to do surgeries. He said, listen, it's not a joke here. You need a certificate. You need something, a diploma, or you're just going to come and learn how to do surgery. I said, what do you care? You just teach me how to do the operations. The rest is my problem. I said, okay, come, join me. You'll be my assistant. So now every day I go to the hospital and I follow my uncle from morning to night for 1 year. See 3 surgeries every day. I film, I take pictures, I look at what he does, the comments that he writes, everything. Then after 6 months, my uncle said, listen, you're very talented. Now I want you to help me. Hold the scissor, pull the string, do this, cut here, go bring me that. I have a phone call to do. Continue, I'll be right back. Then within a year, then one day my uncle tells me, hey, you know what? You know even better than me, that's the truth. He's honest, he's humble. No pride here. So he said, you know what? As far as I'm concerned, you can work, no problem, by yourself and do the best surgeries better than me. So I say, okay, uncle, I thank you for your time. I'm going to go and join the hospital now on my own. I come to the hospital across the street and I say, test me. You'll never find a better surgeon than me. So I said, well, before they even give me a chance to go into the operation room, where is your certificate? Which school you went to? I said, no school. But test me. Why you don't give me a chance? Take me to the surgery room and see that I'm the best. Ask me question. I'll tell you by heart all the procedure, how to do it. You don't trust me? They will never let me become a surgeon unless if I still go and learn everything you have to learn in medical school. It's normal. It makes sense. But when the Torah was given, it was a little bit different than this. When Moshe came from the mountain, there was no Torah scroll yet. He came down on Yom Kippur. The next day, the Torah says he sat in a court and started judging cases. There was no Torah scroll yet. What did he really have? All the oral laws. That's what Judaism is all about, the oral laws. Everything that was passed from father to son, from rabbi to students. Only 40 years later, they received the actual letter. 40 years, every Jew in the desert kept everything without the Torah on the shelf. How? Very simple. The Torah says, do as I ordered you, as I showed you in the mountain. There's a sentence in the Torah, as I showed you in the mountain. I showed you a movie. I show you how to do it. Do as I order you, as I showed you how to do. What? He came down, he said, there is any 8 days old baby here? One woman said, yeah, here. It's exactly 8 days old. Bring him. We have to circumcise him. Attention, everyone. All the older people, the important people, come. I want you to watch all the steps I'm doing. He started to teach them for the first time in history how to practice circumcision. Again, and another baby, and another one, and tomorrow, and the next day, and they're writing down, and they're copying, and he's letting Yoshua doing it, and another old person. And then it started to spread. People started to learn how to become a Moel. And later on, within a year or two, every Jew knew how to circumcise his children. That's one mitzvah. We have to make tefillin. What is this? Come, bring a cow, I'll show you. All day he teach them how you make tefillin. And it starts to spread. We have to bake matzah. Tomorrow it's Pesach. Come see how you do it. They write it down. And that's how within that period of time, everybody knew how to do everything as God ordered him. Later when they received the Torah, it was combined with the historical story that took place in the last 40 years. In addition to that, it's the creation of the world and many other things that we read in the Torah. But really it wasn't so necessary to know what to do because we already knew what to do for 40 years. And that's the truth. So now, you cannot practice one written law without knowing all the oral details. And this is apart from the written Torah and from the oral Torah. Let's read. The Torah say, you want to eat something from the oceans? No problem. It needs 2 signs. Fins and scales. You don't need to recognize what you just caught. No problem. First time in history somebody saw that fish. Does it have fins and scales? You're allowed to eat it. Doesn't have one of them or both of them? You're not allowed. Very simple. How much water we have in the world? 72% of the world is water. How deep we were able to reach? 12 kilometers, 8 miles deep. How many kinds of fish, how many species we have in the oceans? More than 40,000 different fish. More than 5,000 kinds of snakes in the ocean. Horses, turtles, so many creatures and species all over the rivers and the oceans. Most of them were not even exist at the generation that the Torah was given to the Jews. Why? Later on, artificially or naturally, they merge together. There's always new species are created. The Torah included everything that will be created in the future in this prophecy. Everything falls in the same formula. What is it? Have to have fins and scales. Now this is the way the written Torah describe it. Et zeh. What does it mean zeh? This. What does it mean this? This means everything. It did not describe anything specific. This means everything. Everything you're allowed to eat from every water. Which water? The Atlantic Ocean? No. The river? It did not say which water. Water means all the water in the world. 72% of the world. Everything that has fins and scales you can eat. We go to the oral Torah. 7 words. That's all. 7 words leaves no doubt that the Jewish Torah is the word of the creator of the world and our creator. 7 words, that's all. That's what it comes down to. You don't need to be extra intelligent just to understand this. Everything that has scales must have fins. I repeat, everything that has scales must have fins. It's a fact. I created them, I know. If you're ever going to find, in 3,318 years until this moment, everyone is searching for that species. If you're ever going to find one thing that lives in the oceans, that have scales and did not have fins, Judaism is just finished. It's over. It was all a nice, long illusion. Why? The first mistake were just found. You will never find anything that has scales without the fins. That means, if you ever be arrested, God forbid, and the goy brings you half a fish, oh, cook it for yourself. Cook it. You don't know if it's kosher or not. Yes, you know. If you see some of the scales attached still to the fish, you don't see the fins. It's cut off. But you saw the scales. Oh, I'm not an ignorant. I was in a lecture in Great Neck. Now I know something. It helped me, you see? It must be kosher. But where are the fins? We don't see the second witness. We don't need it. It's guaranteed. Why? If it has scales, it must have fins. To write such a thing, you need to watch all the water, all the ocean simultaneously. You have to see all the future generations, all the scientists that will work in museum in Florida, in Eilat, and make experiments and researches and trying to merge all kinds of species together. And to promise that there will never be such a creature. Do you know one person that can watch even one aquarium? You go to Eilat, they have the swimming pools over there. You cannot swear what's inside, what's not inside. Why? What equipment you have to watch the entire ocean? Can you prove if something does not exist? You can only prove what exists. You can never prove what does not exist. Can I swear he doesn't have a sister? How can I prove such a thing? How do I know? Maybe she's in Hong Kong. How do I know? I can prove he has a sister. Why? I know her. Here she is. Oh, I proved. To prove that something does not exist, nobody can do. Except the one who watched the entire world simultaneously and created everything and control all the future. That are the 3 conditions that you need. Does it leave any doubt? And that, by the way, we just read it in a parasha 2 days ago. And you know what else? Right next to it, it says, every animal that a Jew wants to eat has to have 2 signs. Shoe is cud and split hoofs. That's the conditions. How many species of animals we know today? Who knows? No. How many species all over the world of animals? More than 2 million. More than 2 million different kinds of animals. From here to Israel. Make a line. All the way to Israel. You will not finish how many animals are out there. Comes the writer of the book. Just before we finish, we have a few more minutes. Comes the writer of the book and say, be careful, my Jewish son. Be careful. There are 4 exceptional animals. They may trick you. They have only 1 sign in them. 1, not 2. Only 4. From 2 million. 4. the camel, the rabbit, the pig, and the...
Ostrich?
No, the hare.
The hair.
The hare. It looks like a rabbit, you know. 4, they either chew their cud or they have split hooves. One of the two, but not both. What did I just say? Who understood what I just said? If we are going to find one day the 5th one, nobody ever did in the last 3,318 years ago. If we ever gonna find one animal somewhere in the jungles of Zimbabwe, I don't know where, and somebody will bring it and say, look, it has split hooves, and it doesn't chew his cud. You know what would happen? The Jews are the biggest loser. Everything was illusion. Wow. Wow. 3,300 years I keep Shabbat, and now you show me this animal? Come on, you should have hide it. I better off not know. Who would give such a guess? Who would promise such a thing? Only the one who created all the animals. And right next to it, what did he say? I chose you, the Jews, to be my children. I chose you from all the nations. Not because you are the majority of the people in the world. You are less than all the nations. Another prophecy that he was right about. Why? Because I loved your fathers. Who? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I swore to them that I will treat their children specially. Don't imitate the Gentiles. Don't look like them. Don't marry them. Don't have relation with them. Don't eat their food. Don't call your names like them. Be separated from them because you are holy to me. Because I am holy and I made you holy. Please explain me after reading this. How is it possible that almost every Jew in the world today is busy 99% of the time to imitate the French and the Americans and the British? For what? We are the nation of the book, and they admit it. More than 100 times Christians told me, bottom line, you are the chosen people. They were honest enough to say it. Why are we busy imitating them? You know why? Remember what I said in the beginning of my lecture? The biggest danger to a person, especially to a Jew, is ignorance. When you don't know, you have in your house the book of your Creator on the shelf for 20, 30 years. And not once in your life you opened it to read from the beginning to the end carefully. This is my eternity. It's a key for eternity. What did I do with that? Excuse my language, I made it a toilet paper. That's the truth. The Gemara says every day there's an echo coming out from Mount Sinai. What does it say? Oy labriot me'elbona shel Torah. I will not tolerate, I will not forgive that the Jews, my children, embarrassing my Torah. It's on the shelf and they don't even open it. New York Times, they read 15 times a day. Internet, they know everything. They know the size of the shoes of Hillary Clinton and how many shoes she bought in the last month. You know what happened to her daughter? Did you hear? She just went recently to Iraq. You heard what happened? You didn't hear? Come on. I see you don't listen to the news so much. She went to an army general, a big Guido, and she came, and she say, hey, Mr. Smith, how you doing today? Yeah, where are you from? I'm from New Orleans. She say, listen, I heard somebody told me that you're not afraid of anything. I say, no. You're almost right. I'm afraid of 3 things. So what are you afraid of? He say, I'm afraid of Osama. Oh, Osama. Everybody afraid of Osama bin Laden. We know what he could do. What's the next thing you're afraid of? Obama. So Obama, oh, she thought maybe he's going to vote for mother. And what's the third thing you're afraid of? Your mama. Osama, Obama, and your mama. I know that when you went to college, you asked your professor who invented the first telescope. And what did he say? Galileo Galilei. Some professor will say, but it really started with Hubble. He started at 30 years before Galileo. In the year 1608, Galileo developed 6-foot telescope and he raised it up. And for the first time in history, everybody knows there are much more galaxies than what we thought. Until today, everybody thought there are 6,000 stars. And now everybody knew there's much more than 6,000 stars. What happened to Galileo after he finished his telescope? The Christian church took him to a special place. That's how they used to kill those who were contradicting Christianity. They put them inside the house and took sand with shovels and threw it inside, and from the dust he couldn't breathe and he died. That's how they killed him. But before they killed him, he proved one thing the Torah said. But before we get to it, because time really ran out, so you know how it is. There's so much more to show, but there's no more time. But one last thing I will show you that you remember that. First, the truth is that the Torah, the Gemara says that Rabban Gamliel had a tube. He was looking into that tube every day and watched the people that coming away from where? From 2,000 amma on the ground and 2,000 amma in the river, in the ocean. 2 and 2, it's 4,000. How much is that? 2 kilometers. 1.5 miles away. About 30, 40 blocks in Manhattan. So he was able 2,100 years ago to look in his tube and see people coming away from 30, 40 blocks away from Manhattan. What was it if not a telescope? Why did they say in college that Galileo is the first one who had a telescope? Next time when you go to the college, show it to the professor. It's the Gemara, Masechet Eruvin, page 43. And not only that, the whole world was arguing if the world is round or it's flat. Christopher Columbus went on his trip to India and he was sailing straight and straight and straight, and he ended up in the same beginning point. Everybody realized at that moment there's no point of continuing to argue. The world is round. Well, we didn't need him. 2,600 years ago, the prophet Yeshaya, Isaiah, chapter 40, wrote clearly in his book, 2,100 years before Christopher Columbus, the whole world was shaking when they finally found out for sure that the world is round. Remember, there's no satellites, no NASA yet that can show you that the world is round and is turning. And the prophet wrote clearly, Ayoshev al chug haaretz. Chug, for those who know Hebrew, it's something that's circle. Chug haaretz. Rashi, 950 years ago, 450 years before Columbus. What did he write? He lived in France. Chug, he explained that word, ogel, mechoga, like in geometry, a circle. So next time, Baruch Hashem. So the next time, no, you just finished the lecture, you know why? Because I say, God, give me a sign. When someone will sneeze, that means I got to finish. You just sneeze. Oh, so it's because of you now, you see? I'm joking. All right, I will give, as obviously, I have more than 100 slides in this lecture, and I show you about 4 or 5. That means, hopefully, you have to meet again. But before we finishing the night, I hope everybody enjoy. I really hope. And I will give you now time for questions. I'm sure you have some questions. Not necessarily about what we spoke, even general questions. Anybody has any questions, please. No, Tashir.
I have a question. So, I don't know if this might sound a little stupid or something, but every single word that is in our Torah today was given from God.
100%.
There was
with no exception.
From
100%. You know why? One day, when we continue Bezrat Hashem our series, you will see that I will reach a topic that called codes in the Torah. Codes in the Torah, it's all math. In math, if you make a mistake by 1 digit, the entire result is completely different. If you take 1 letter out of the Torah from the middle somewhere, all the codes that the computer find by entering names in equal skip, they're all going to get ruined. Why? But it's enough you take 1 letter, it's not going to be anymore 50, 50, 50. Because it's going to be now 49. The computer will not find it. So if you took 1 letter out of the Torah, not a word, a letter, you finish the Torah. If you're still not convinced, I'll tell you a story.
You're talking about Bible codes and stuff?
Bible codes. I'll give you a story. Today, when you want to bring a Sefer Torah from Israel to the shul here in Great Neck, there are 2 ways to do it. One is to dedicate a Jew that will hold it in a plane and hold it for 12 hours. He cannot do anything with that, cannot take it to the bathroom. It's $50,000, so he has to hold it. Finally, he gets here. Until he gets to the shul, he lost 20 pounds already from the pressure. That's one way. There's another way. When you finish to write the Sefer Torah, you leave the last word or the last letter out. You don't write it. In that case, you can put it in a UPS box and ship it. They take the box, they throw it. The Guido over there hold the Torah. They throw it. How does the rabbi did such a thing? They send it by UPS. What's going on? From here you're going to learn a very important lesson. You take out 1 letter from a divine book, God forbid it became a toilet paper. Why? It's not divine anymore. Divine, it's 100%, not 99.9%. Believing means not knowing. When I say I believe in God, by how much? 80%. That means I just say I don't believe in God 20%. Therefore, the Torah never ordered the Jews to believe in God. The Torah says you should know I'm your God. You should know, all the nation knows that I'm the master. Not believe, no. 100%. More questions? Yes.
In the Torah it says you should treat your children the same. Is that correct?
You should treat
your children the same. Like your son,
yeah. Of course, all of them.
Why does Hashem does not treat the Muslim and the Jew the same?
Well, first of all, who told you that Hashem doesn't treat the Muslims and the Jews the same? Who has more money in the world today? Who are stronger? Who has all the oil?
No discrimination. That's why I want to know. Why is there any discrimination? We are more holy than the Muslim child that could be equally.
Very good question. Very good question, and the answer will be hopefully as good as the question is. When God created Adam and Eve, the plan of the creation was that all their descendants will be one nation. Not many, many nations. One nation. And that nation, when their time will come, they will receive the book of God. However, in order for an individual to receive information from God, the perfect God, a person has to be deserved it. He has to deserve it. Not every person receives a prophecy from God. We see in history, by the Jews only the holiest and the most perfect people, God were communicated with them. Even Abraham, when God wanted to give him information, first he gave them 10 different tests. And only after Abraham passed all the tests, only then God said, now I know, after he took his son to slaughter him, now I know you're fearful from Hashem, and you deserve that I speak to you. That means Abraham had to sweat a lot for many years until God agreed to speak to him, even though the Torah told us that from age 3 he was already righteous. He searched for God from age 3. Only age 52 Abraham started to teach other people about God. 49 years later. Now, Adam had a son called Cain. He was a murderer. Cain automatically could not, him and his descendants cannot receive the book of God. Why? Because they didn't deserve it. They did not deserve it. Going throughout history, we reach Noah. Noah was righteous and he had 3 sons. One of them is righteous, 2 of them are wicked. The one who was righteous, his name was Shem, Sem. We are the Jews, came from that person, Sem. That's why someone that hates Jews, his name is anti-Semite. Why? Because we are from the family of Sem, Shem, the righteous son. What happened to Yefet? Yefet in Hebrew means beauty. Yefet went to Europe, to all this beautiful area that the people are very handsome. They got the beauty and nothing else. And Esav, by the way, is also from their descendants later on. All the people went there, the Amalek, all this. But Ham means very hot. Ham, it's all Africa. All the blacks and all the area of Africa is from that son of Noah. They did not deserve to receive the book of God. Therefore, God gave them different things. But He doesn't give them the truth. So only Shem, Sem, has the merit now to receive it. But not that easy. After a few generations, Abraham comes from Shem. But Abraham was about to receive the Torah. What does he do? A critical mistake. He listened to Sarah and he went with Hagar, the slave. And he had a wild beast named Ishmael. The Torah says, no, I'm serious. The Torah called him a wild beast. Pere Adam. Read in the Torah. It's the same thing in every language. So the Torah says, Pere Adam. You know Hebrew? The Torah says, Pere Adam, a wild beast. Everything in the world will be connected with him. That's what the Torah says. We see today how much the Torah was right about the Muslims and what they do to the world. But that's what the Torah says. Then Ishmael and his descendants is out of the picture. But there was one righteous son, Isaac. What happened to Isaac? He has a son, Jacob. He has a son, Esav. Esav and all his descendants, Germany, France, Russia, United States, all the countries of the Europe came from this person, Esav. They are all out of the picture. Why? Their father was a wicked person. So who is left? Only Jacob. Jacob has 12 righteous children. They're all righteous. 12 tribes came out of him. The 12 tribes, since Jacob reached perfectness, God said, now it's about time to give my book to this family. Why? Because they're all good. There's no bad there. Everything is good. But in order for me to give them the book, I have to send them for a time of preparation. Only somebody that was down to earth, a slave, was deprived and depressed by other nation. Only somebody like this can receive a book full of orders. Someone who is very wealthy and healthy and is a boss, to come and tell them do this, do that, it's very difficult. Let's send them to slavery in Egypt for 210 years. After they're going to reach the bottom of the bottom, I'm going to save them and give them the Torah, and this is what happened. However, you should know that even though 99% of the people came from wicked people and they lost their merit to receive the Torah said that every goy has the right to convert to Judaism, and once he converted for real, not because he met a beautiful Israeli girl or a Persian girl from Great Neck, because he wanted to move to Great Neck, so all of a sudden he has a yarmulke on. Not because of that. Because he really recognized the truth of the Torah. Somebody like this, after 2 years of process, and believe me, it's not easy, after he went inside the mikveh and had the circumcision, is the highest level in Judaism, better than me and you together. If you see a convert, a real convert, and we have thousands of converts today in the Jewish nation, by the way, you should know, that Ishmael, the Arabs, Ishmael, the Zohar say, don't have the merit to convert. You don't find any Arab converts. And if you will find one or two, they were Christians, not Muslims. Check in the history, you see. The Torah say, God say, Ishmael, I don't want to get anybody to my nation from this wild beast. Esav, however, many Christians from Korea, from Russia, from Europe, from America, many descendants of Esav converted to Judaism. Once they converted, there is no discrimination whatsoever. The Torah says 36 times that we should respect them, help them, love them, and do everything for them. More even than the widows and the orphans. So I think that if you knew what I just told you, you wouldn't think there's any discrimination against any goy. And something else I want to add to my answer. A goy, a non-Jew that did not convert, but he keep the 7 laws that God ordered him in the Torah in the time of Noah, 900 years before the Jews received the Torah. God already gave Noah and the entire world 7 laws to keep. Only 900 years later, he gathered the Jews to Mount Sinai and gave them the entire Torah. Up to then, everybody in the world was equal spiritually. 7 laws. If a goy, Arab, Christians, Chinese, doesn't matter. If he keep the 7 laws that God ordered the Gentiles to keep, he is in a higher level than a Jew that not keeping Torah and mitzvot in the eyes of God. 100%. He's a righteous goy, and the Jew considered to be a wicked Jew. However, the difference is that if the goy one day would like to become a Jew, he has to go through 2 years of hell until he's going to become a Jew. The non-religious Jew, all he has to do is accept, tomorrow I'm changing, that's it. Rabbi, tell me, give me a list of books. What's my next step? I don't want to waste my life. I don't want to live here 7 years and just care about the size of my house and my clothing and my food, not even knowing the purpose of life. Why God put me here? I'm in a test. Where does the Torah say that everything in life is a test? Ki menaseh Hashem etchem. God is testing you. What's the rest of the pasuk, the sentence? To check what's in your heart. Are you going to listen to Him or not? In another place in the Torah it says, Ki menaseh Hashem etchem. God is testing you to see if you love Him or you don't. To see if you are ungrateful to Him or you are grateful to Him. I want to ask, who knows what's the meaning of the word Jewish in Hebrew? Yehudi. Where does it come, this word from? Yehuda. From Yehuda, right? Why not from Shimon? Why we don't call the Shimonim? Yosef was a very big righteous person, no? Why don't we call the Yosefim? Why Yehudim after Yehuda? Judaism has 2 meanings. The word Jew means modeh. What does it mean, modeh? 2 meanings to the same word. 2 different meanings. Modeh means thanking. I thank you. That's called modeh. Ani modeh lecha. I thank you. And I admit that what you say is correct. 2 words. 1 word. 2 meanings. That's all life is all about. That's what Judaism is all about. You can ask a person, what's the purpose of life? The answer is the word Jewish. That's everything. Why? You have to be grateful to everything God is doing for you. If you're going to work on being grateful, believe me, you're not going to be a sinner. You don't want to spit in the face of the one who gives you oxygen. He gives you money. He gives you health. He gave you a wife. Depends what kind of wife. But He gave you a wife. He gave you children. He gave you a car. He gave you a watch. He gave you millions of things. And what do you do? Only complaining. I don't have enough. It's not fair. So that's one thing. You should be thankful. Second, you should always search for the truth. And that's the truth. No matter who said it. Jew, a goy, the rabbi, your friend. That's the truth, I must admit. That's a very high level of Judaism. You understand? So now the point is, you should know that everybody can control his future. I'm not talking only in this world. This world, it's going to be like a blink of the eye. Before it started, it's over. 70 or 80 years, when the soul separates from the body and goes up to heaven, it would look, this life, like a blink of the eye. That's what the Gemara says, keheref ayin. You know what this means, heref ayin? The muscle of the eye, 20 times a minute rest. Nobody feels it. You blink non-stop and it never bothered you. Why? Because this is how short this life is. People want to build building here and run after pleasure. Before you realize, it will be over. The more you accumulate, the more painful it's going to be to leave it all here and live. You should know that. One day you're going to realize what I say is correct. So what's the point? The point is, let's search for the truth I would like to fulfill the mission that I have to do in this life. Where do I find what do I have to do? First thing I do tomorrow morning, I open up the book of God and I read it from the beginning to the end, in Persian, in English, in Russian, in Hebrew, it doesn't matter. I want to read it from A to Z. I have problems understanding it. I pay a few dollars for somebody from the yeshiva. I want to learn with you an hour every night. 1 month only. I want to first see what God wants from me. I promise you, after you read Sefer Dvarim, not the whole book, just Sefer Dvarim, none of you will ever behave the same like you behave until today. None of you, I guarantee you, I promise you. You know why? Because when you begin to read what God's speaking to you, you're going to have tears in your eyes. God say, what am I asking you to do? The thing that I'm begging you to do is that you should listen to me, that I should reward you in your end forever and ever. Where does it say it? I'm paying the righteous Jews to thousands of generations. And I'm paying the wicked Jews cash to their face to get rid of them. That later I owe them nothing. It's a sentence in the Torah, not the rabbis. No, in the Torah, in the text. Paying the righteous people. Only later I will delay the payment to the righteous people. I will never delay the payment to the wicked people. Why? Every wicked person, wicked doesn't mean evil. Don't get me wrong. Wicked means do not follow my orders. Can be a very nice person, but don't listen to my orders. So, therefore, he fasted in Yom Kippur once a year. I owe him a lot. He gave charity here and there. I owe him. He came to pray once in a while. I owe him. He did a mitzvah. He made peace between two Jews. I owe him. He went to visit a Jew in a hospital. I owe him. He helped building the synagogue. I owe him. What is his dream? What's his dream? He wants to own a baseball team? I'll make him successful in that. How many things I owe him? It's all out of the list. I paid him. He wants a nice house? Take a nice house. He wants 15 cars? He's a collector of Rolls Royce? Take 15 Rolls Royce, no problem. What else I owe you for? I guarantee to pay you in this temporary life. What do you want? What's better? 30, 40 years of illusions, which anyway doesn't bring happiness, or billions of years of pleasure? The Torah says, and this is my last sentence for tonight, the Torah says, if you take all the pleasure from all the people in the world, multiply by 70 years of the entire generation, will not be equal to the reward of one Jew, 1 hour in the world to come. What a great loss for few stupid things that we run after. What a tremendous tragedy. What ignorance will cause us if we're not going to wake up. You don't believe me? Continue to search. You have my website. 350 lectures over there. Every question you ever ask, you're going to get the answer. Plus, I hope that we're going to meet again, Bezrat Hashem. We'll meet again, Bezrat Hashem. And you prepare me all your questions for the next time we're going to meet. Thank you very much for everyone.